Are you a coder who gets rejected based on no practical experience or because others have a strong LinkedIn personal brand and you don't? Your coaching institute will hate me for doing this, but I welcome you to Code to Career 30 days challenge where I have chosen these 5 total strangers out of my LinkedIn contacts and have taken up the challenge to help them go from jobless or underpaid to well paid job, that too without additional degrees and certifications in the next 30 days. If you are a coder and wants to get a well paid job, this is your golden chance to experience real project implementation from scratch that gets you a well paid job and builds your LinkedIn personal brand and also resume for absolutely free. So why just watch? Get into our WhatsApp community to experience this. Link is in the description. Now let's get started.
Yeah, is it possible for people to come on camera? Yeah, hi Chaitanya.
Yeah, hi.
Anand, Aditya, Viresh, Anirudh. Yeah, can you come on camera? Okay. Yeah, I understood. So any questions till now with respect to use case diagrams and especially sequence diagram? Were you able to at least figure out like, I want to travel in this path. This is how it should go. I am thinking of these structures, or this is how the data will flow. Anything? Yeah, any questions? So Chaitanya, are you able to do the sequence diagrams?
Yeah.
Okay. Anand, were you able to do sequence diagrams?
Yeah, it's in process. Completed the use case diagram.
Mm-hmm.
So now I am starting sequence diagram.
Okay. So here is the thing. If you people understand, we are on a fast track progress only. Ideally, a project which will take months, I don't know. That is why we are trying to hold and do something which is manageable in less amount of time. We are not going to be overboard and try to say that I will do accomplish this, that, and all those things. We will accomplish only whatever is needed, whatever is within the capacity that we can do, but we will follow the process. If you take this template and you follow the process and you add more features, more things, robust software, many other things, the code size will grow. More issues may come when you are trying to integrate the code, and all those things will come. But this is a template which you can apply like it's a standard pattern. You have a star pattern, cookie cutter. You make big cookie cutter. The shape is same, but the dimensions are different. So you need to be on heels and you need to really put in that extra effort so that you understand this process. You skip a beat about this process, it will be tough for you to really figure out like what should I do at the later stages. Once you are into the code implementation, wherein I see that majority of the implementation in this particular example actually is not writing new code, but adding that code which will join two pieces of already working implementations. For example, how will you bring the HTTP code and make that HTTP code accept your string as a input? HTTP protocol as such every protocol will have a payload. So HTTP also has a payload, which we know is the web page content that HTTP protocol will take it from one place to another place. In that content, now instead of putting HTTP packet, we are placing JSON packet. Ideally, you can put it in a HTTP packet also so that you can see it on the screen. So what I'm trying to tell is, in case if you don't have a hardware device or you did not get an idea like, oh, what should I do? I don't have any kind of idea that I'm getting to, so that which will simulate the sensor and all those things. You can put the temperature or anything as a HTTP packet and send it. Are you people getting the idea? You have a data generated from the user saying that this is the temperature I want to set, or this is some parameter I want to get modified, or all the things. The data comes, it gets converted into, as of now, I told JSON format. And then it will be placed into HTTP packet and it will be sent. Ideally, HTTP protocol as such is only a entity which will carry the load that you are giving, which is a payload. That's why we call it as a payload, right? Because it's a load. Now imagine you don't have that JSON packet. You say that I will send it as HTTP HTML script only, where I have header, this thing. When it goes to the other device, for example, you connect it to the laptop through hyperterminal only. But then you have a static IP address. These all things will happen because you are talking from one device to another device over a TCP IP connection. Or even if it is, let us say through this UART connection only, the whole packet goes. You copy paste that packet and you try to open it with a web browser. You will see the 25 value or something. How many people are getting this? What I am trying to say? I am trying to give an idea. Type G for I got. If you are getting this idea, type G. I'm giving you an idea wherein if you don't have that JSON format only going on, you can do this kind of thing also, where you understand that, oh, okay, I'm finally receiving the information, just that it is in HTML format. I'm able to see it using my web browser. There are various ways, but the point here now, okay, Ananda says, can you please repeat it once again? Okay, let me show it as a picture. I know this is a mouthful, so let me show it as a picture. And for this to understand, you need to also actually be a little bit familiar with the things that I'm going to teach today. A bit of HTTP packet, how it looks and all those things.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Are you able to see my screen? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, the idea is very simple. Some external entity which is sending you data. 25 degrees, doesn't matter. Some configuration, something. Now what happens? This is your middleware, your system, including front end, middleware, all things inclusive. This is the place where you have a hard coding or you are a user interface, graphics, whatever. Now the data comes here. Intention is 25. The user interface also sends 25, captures 25, and now it comes into the middleware part, which is that HTTP and JSON and all those things. Let us at this point of time discount JSON. Let us say I don't want to go with JSON. You say I want to send it as a HTTP packet only. So you have this HTTP module here. Yeah. So now let me tell you this. The 25, if it comes to JSON code, it will put it into a JSON format. But now I take it as a simple 25 only, and I create a HTTP packet. Something, header or something, whatever. If you know HTML tags, these are all HTML tags. Somewhere you will say this is the payload and its value is 25. Still the connection is UART, TXRX thing only. Yeah. You will receive on the other side, let us say on your laptop, and you get everything on a terminal. Copy paste this thing complete. Copy paste and store it as data.html or any file name and open it with your browser. You will see 25 value printed. In the sense, however you put this HTML tags, right? You will see 25 on the browser. Making sense now? Type yes in the chat box if this is if this is understandable. And this is how the transfer happens. This is how your web page content is coming from web server to your browser, and your browser is able to render it on the screen. What now I am saying is send it to TXRX. The catch here is this JSON payload also, as such, you can put it as a payload here. So you will put a tag saying that payload or whatever. See, because if your website content, images and text is coming, you can send a text also, because JSON payload at the end of the day is a string. For that matter, everything is a string and mixture of characters. Are you people getting, or you want me to explain again? I'm saying you can directly send HTML tags embedding your value, what the user is trying to configure. Or you put it in the JSON format only, which is again a string, and put it inside that HTML packet and send. Or forget about, now I discounted JSON format here. Now I will discount this HTML format here. And I will directly send as part of HTTP payload. In both the cases, it is the HTTP protocol only. In one case, I am saying send your data in HTML format. In another case, I am saying send your data as JSON format. I am not going to talk about advantages, disadvantages, and all those things. HTML is entirely different from JSON, yes, but I am trying to encache here the capability of HTTP protocol as such that it can take some payload. HTTP protocol will take HTML as payload. Everybody understands that. It doesn't mean that it cannot take any other thing as a payload. Got it? So you have two options. Use HTML, put your temperature, send it to your device, see it on the terminal, copy paste .html, and you see that, oh, if you see 25 here also on your web browser, it means everything is working here, yes or no? The whole process is working, right? Your HTTP integration, your user interface, your application code, your HTTP code, everything is working fine. That is why the 25 has come on the other side. Also, your UART driver is also working. That's also validated. Yes or no? Because we are not doing here any Ethernet connection. We are not using TCP IP, nothing. No IP address, nothing. Simple TXRX UART connection. Is it clear? Type C in the chat box. I see blank faces. Is it clear to everyone? Only few people. The thing, then you say, you ask, okay, then Vamsi, what is there here to understand and learn? So much. We are in an era wherein if you take a project like this, nobody does anything from scratch. We all know that. But integrating a JSON parser and a HTTP server and creating certain user interface or something, taking data from there, making it travel through this complex layer.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Of software. Put a UART driver that the application can use, or HTTP code that you are getting will use, because most of the HTTP code that you will get, that Ajay has put as a link, or I will also show some code and all. I will also put one GitHub link. Everyone assumes that the ultimate physical layer is an Ethernet. Yes. Here we are saying, no, it is not Ethernet, it's a UART. Now you say, then Vamsi, if you are sending it from UART only, then why HTTP? Understand that the philosophy of the project is IoT project. So I am bringing in the components that are predominantly used in IoT. That you need to understand that there is an HTTP server, they should be there, it will get connected, and all those encryption and all those things. What we are trying to do in this 21-day or this 30-day period is that we are trying to retrofit everything as per our need. And that's the beauty of software. Don't you people agree? If I know that a protocol at the end of the day is an entity which will take the load I am giving and transfer it from one place to another place, and yes, I understand. If it is an HTTP protocol, then the other side also has to be an HTTP protocol, that it has these layers, this understanding, it will understand all the fields of the protocol. Yes, those are all valid. But we are not trying to create a complete blown up production kind of software. We are trying to understand that, yes, if I follow this process of use case diagram, sequence diagrams, then brainstorm use cases, test cases, these, whatever the stages, and add the elements that are commonly used in any project, but retrofit them for my requirement, that what I can do in 30 days. That is where I am saying that at the end of a HTTP protocol in a real-time system is a network controller, which understands Ethernet, 802.3, whatever. I'm saying I will remove all these things. I will put UART. Because it is software, it works. Because ultimately the bits and bytes have to travel. Now on the other side, is there any HTTP protocol also a receiver which understands HTTP protocol? No, I don't want that. I'm not looking at that. Yes, in real life, I understand, because it goes on Ethernet, there is an IP address, everything, it works. Tomorrow, when this kind of fully blown project comes in front of you, help me understand, are you not equipped to understand those finer details? Because you have gone through this process, right? Now you replace UART with Ethernet. The other side also understands proper HTTP. You use the complete protocol, HTTP protocol. You know it. Now what matters at that point of time, or what is pending at that point of time, is learning that specific things, which you can master in a least amount of time, because you already know the big picture. How many of you understand the intention of the project and why things are being toned down so that things can be accomplished in just 30 days? Type me in the chat box. I want everyone to be on the same page, so that other things, when I start talking, it makes sense to you. Because the biggest thing now is for you to pick up one HTTP server and tone down. The learning now is for you to understand the HTTP protocol at a decent level. Understand the fact that I have to tone down, which involves your reading the source code to some extent, saying that these are all the functionalities I don't want. Then add a user interface to it. It could be as simple of scanf, but I would say go for a little bit advanced if you can. Sandwich these two things, club these two things, or join these two things. And the kind of code, or the code that people write when they want to take one working module written by somebody, and then their application specific or requirement specific code, and use that code. The code which will join these two things, people normally called as glue logic. And glue logic is a term which is very much popular in VLSI and those kind of things. They say that, okay, this is the logic which will which will join this hardware functionality with this functionality. The same thing is here, that glue code, whatever glue logic that we are saying, will act as a pipe between your application and your HTTP server. You can also another pipe connected to JSON application. Most of the time, what happens in projects is there are already pieces of code written for you, modules available for you. For example, encryption. Nobody will sit and write encryption algorithm from scratch. They will use certain piece of code. Now, if you understand one point, where then the expertise lies? When you are plumbing these things, right? Do not expect that things will work just like that. There you need to have expertise. For example, you start debugging and something happens that the information from the user interface or whatever enters, it gets below. Somewhere in HTTP code, it gets goofed up. What do? You have to get into HTTP code to understand where the data is getting corrupted or what is happening. That's where the expertise lies. That's where somebody who knows HTTP protocol, internal, this, that. Now you see your seniors say that, oh man, this guy knows so much. Yeah, this guy knows that specific thing in depth or different elements of project in depth. Is this making sense? Type yes in the chat box. Because I see this today I'm seeing very stone faces. Same thing applies for now JSON, the JSON parser. Same thing applies for now your driver. Anything and everything, you will understand that it's ultimately boiling down to expertise of that particular piece of code, because somebody has spent good deal of time either developing it, maybe, or most probably, or most commonly, I should not say most probably, but most commonly, that when they were executing this project, there were a lot of bugs, things were not working, they made it work. For that, they got into the code and they did that bug fixing. Making sense? Then what finally will happen is that particular HTTP code that they have used, they would have done so many changes as per their company requirements and all those things. Same thing for any encryption algorithm or something. You say that, oh, this guy is the, what do we say? Something we say there is a Spock. We don't say Spock, but that expert. He is an expert in security algorithms and all those things. Maybe that person knows so much of theoretical knowledge, might not have developed anything from scratch, but would have used the code that implements that algorithm in the projects, and he knows where which bug can occur and how the code actually flows. Even though he might not or she might not have done from the scratch. They know the theoretical knowledge, they saw one implementation of that or two implementations at the maximum. But let me ask you a question. If there is certain thing written in English text, somebody goes and writes the code. Someone gets a thought of using certain data structure and somebody gets another idea of some other data structure, some other algorithm. Requirement is one, but implementations can be many, yes or no? So this person who you regard in your team as expert, out of those 30 different variants, would have known 2 or 3, which is sufficient, let me tell you. Because if he or she sees the remaining 27, can very easily map this code with that requirement or that theoretical knowledge. Yes or no? Making sense? What I am now saying is, in these 30 days, in this project where we are retrofitting so many things, minimalizing many things, trivializing many things, removing so many things, if you can successfully understand one implementation of HTTP code, one implementation of a JSON parser, write a driver, let me tell you, you have accomplished the project. Because going forward, 30 days period, you accomplish this thing is so much. And you followed the process also. You went through this use case diagram, you had the sequence diagram, you wrote the test cases, you debugged, you wrote that glue logic where the data can flow from JSON functions to your HTTP code and calling the UART driver and sending out.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Are we all on the same page? Because this requires good amount of code study, and when you are writing that plumbing code, you should be super clear of what you want to do, which requirement, which use case, and that use case getting translated into one or two sequence diagrams. Those sequence of functions, you need to be very, very clear. Again, I am bringing back you to the basics. The basic thing, if you have not done till now, you are going to face problem is if you haven't written that essay. You should write that. It's as simple as that. A movie with a very bad script but with very good graphics and all those things can that be a hit? Can that be a hit? Type in the chat box. Very bad script, high class graphics, can that be a hit? Very nice script, heart touching story, taken in a very simple way, will that be a hit? Great script, not so many great actors, first timers. We have seen many pictures getting hit. As simple as that. You getting the point? So let us now go and understand the HTTP protocol in a simple way. JSON thing, I will send you one source code. There are many source codes that are available, but there is one source code that is what I have used in during my startup experience. I have also a video recording of its explanation, which I will share, the YouTube link. So you can go through that YouTube link where I explained the code in depth. The code is there. There are only 2 APIs that are needed. You need to write a plumbing logic to fit it to the HTTP code. Clear? You have the whole GitHub in front of you. Pick up any HTTP code. This JSON code why I am giving is because it already I want to reduce your effort. If you understand, my intention is reduce your effort to the maximum extent possible and reduce the time. Are these not the 2 things because of which people either do or don't do a task? Type yes if you agree. Either they will not do a task if it is too much of effort. They will not do a task if it is taking more time. I am reducing both. One part of the project, which is JSON. HTTP, I leave it to you. Clear? And UART driver, it depends. That driver template and all those things I will give to you. But somebody may choose STM board, somebody may choose some other board, somebody may choose, I don't want to use any board. And I told you initially, the only difference would be that you will do an explicit function call instead of an interrupt routine, which automatically gets called. Making sense? Can you see the path of the data, how it is going till you see it either in your terminal or something? Assuming that your terminal is the smart thermostat. Clear so far? That's it you need to do. So I want to pause now and ask if there are any questions. If you understand, we are now done with all the prerequisite things. From today, you will be getting into code, or you have to get into code. Any questions? You can unmute and ask. It could be because it could be for use cases, sequence diagrams, and all those things. And let me tell you, you have any questions now and you keep them under the rug, going forward, you will face the problem. This is exactly the situation when in your company, people say that fixing a bug within the company before the product goes out is a very cheap affair. Once the product goes out and there is a bug that is found in the customer premises, it's way too costly. How many of you heard this? Type me in the chat box. A bug found in the field is very, very critical. This is exactly the same thing. Yeah, we all experienced it. And these are called as customer found defects. We give them very beautiful names to this. Field issues. You heard it? Field issues, customer found defects, and all these things. That's why the design phase and all these things are important. Any question? I'll give 3 minutes. Think through and ask, be it use case or sequence diagram or anything. Because from today, you are going to start with the code. Don't hesitate. You are one question, let me tell you, everybody might be having the same question. It's just that they are shy to expose themselves. No, you can unmute and ask so that it will be more clear. Yeah, unmute and ask. Chaitanya. Okay.
Yeah,
Your
it's like
roommates are your roommates are disturbing you.
yeah, particularly where we have to start with, like I have that question from the beginning.
Okay. Any other questions? I mean, from everyone, because I will answer in sequence. I want to get the question so that I can answer in sequence. So I understand from which part we have to start coding, right? Yeah. People who don't have roommates can unmute and ask. Ananda, no question? Everything clear? Ready to jump into the code? Sagar, Anirudh.
First, the thing is, I am thinking to write some scratch of architecture thing. So then I could get an idea.
I know that, I know. The reason why people don't ask question is when they know that their past things that were asked to be done, when they are not done, this is the place where they get stuck up in a very big way. Because now it's action time, right? Earlier it was only that, okay, you think and draw some diagrams and all those things. But here, the moment the code comes, brain freeze. Oh, I did not. Oh, use case diagram is not done. Don't know, sequence diagram. Sagar, where are you?
Uh, Currently ready to jump into the code.
So your sequence diagrams, everything is done.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Are they done?
Yeah, I have tried. I wanted, I wanted to show they take review from you.
Okay. We'll start today and next week, today is what? Wednesday. Friday, we will look at all the diagrams so that I want the code thing to start now, because if we don't start now, then we will not pick up the pace. So sequence diagram and all those things we will see on Friday. Yeah. Anirudh. No questions? Ready to jump into code? Anirudh, ready to jump into code? No, you can stop video and you can speak because it's taking a lot of bandwidth.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm still in the use case. I've done with the use case, but I'm not sure about the
What is it you are not sure about?
use case. Like I've done, I want to get feedback from. Is it
You want
correct
to
or
get?
feedback from?
Sorry, I did not get the last thing. You want to get what? Review.
Yes.
Yeah, Friday we will. But my thing is that are you done with the sequence diagrams and all those things? Any questions?
No, no, sir.
Okay, Viresh. Any question? Aditya, Viresh. Okay, so let's address this one question. I believe other people are comfortable and they will start doing it. But let me be very honest. If you don't act, you will be only missing, because now we are entering into code and this will now it will pick up the steam. From which part we have to start coding? This is where now the low level design document thing comes. Tomorrow, the high level design document template will be put into the resources folder. Friday, the low level design document template will be put. I want to give 1 day gap because people will have time to fill the high level design document and start thinking on low level design document, because as I mentioned, Friday we will review the sequence diagrams, which is part of the low level design document. Now, what happens when you have that essay and you have those use cases and you come here with respect to the sequence diagrams and all those things, your story becomes more and more and more narrow. Already, with respect to the use case, you have identified the requirement, the way the actor interacts with the system. So there will be a thread of execution starting there. Yeah. Do you people agree? I'm not talking about 100 different things. I'm only talking about how the user interacts with these things. So I also restricted the situation that under these constraints, this, that, and this is the use case. Then I enter into the sequence diagram where where I talk about the specific interactions. In between, if you people recollect, we have used CRC technique to come up with the structures and all those things, right? Now, in our case, I told it is not a class. Had it been a class, imagine for a moment, had it been a class, for example, HTTP, class HTTP. People who has small little bit of experience with C++, or if you have seen a C++ code, most probably the C++ code is arranged as class.c and class.h. Agree? Have you seen that anytime? HTTP server.c, HTTP server.h. Just that when you enter into that code, you open the header file, you will see the complete class definition. Constructor, destructor, copy constructor, and assignment operator, overloaded functions, anything and everything. The CPP file, yeah, in this case, let me call it HTTP server.cpp, will have every implementation. Now, what is happening here? Because of my CRC technique, I am eventually entering into creation of two files, one header and one C file. This is how you start coding. If you have played the CRC card technique properly, you will understand that these are the responsibilities of this structure or this entity. Now, when I say that these are the responsibility of this structure, what happens? I have to have the function prototypes, I have to have the implementations. Prototypes go into the header file, implementations go into the C file. Internal implementations will all become static members of the same file. Only the things that I want to expose or some other module can call when they require help of this module will get into the header file that defines and all those things. Does this now answer your question, Chaitanya? This is how now, because of this design, eventually you get into that header file and all those things. You don't think of complete flow. You think of complete flow and you actually get the objects. Actually, you know, in normal UML stuff or normal design, people actually even do not think about classes at the beginning. They actually think about the object diagram because objects are the real representation of the world, right? That the salesman talked, did with this, that. The complete scenario is there. So they actually draw something called as object diagram. And from there, they actually start the things most of the times, even before class diagrams. But we are eliminating so many things. I have toned down many things to very light, small level, but not sacrificing the process as such. So when you do the CRC technique and you get deep into the conversations, you will see that the .h and .c file automatically emerge. And that's why I told at some point of time, I remember in one of the sessions also, when you find certain responsibilities or certain collaborations, which doesn't go into anything, or it is not going into this structure also, it is not, it is not addressing this module also, it is not addressing this module also, all those will become your utilities. For example, you want to find, let us say, many from thermostat, there are many samples that are coming, temperature samples. So you want to see which is the average sample. So you write a function called average of 5 samples. Now, average of 5 samples, you can say that it is part of thermostat code only, but you see that it can be utilized at some other place also, because it's an average operation. Common file for every other files. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a common file, which you will call utils, this, that, and all those. You give all those fancy names, right? You put all these kind of things, which other files also can use. You put it in utils. And that utils files also will come when you start these conversations. And that's why emphasizing many times, if you don't write the essay, you don't sit on the problem and you think about the problem, do not expect that you will have very flourishing career. I don't want to be the messenger of bad news, but I'm seeing people. I'm seeing people where they are just sitting in the bus stop kind of thing and buses are going in front of them. Opportunities will just go in front of you. Because nobody believes that you are competent enough to give you that. There are other factors. I'm not denying that your company, this, that, and all those things. But what I believe, if you become capable of what you can become to the top-notch level, opportunities will come to you. If you don't act, you don't ask questions, you remain silent, you think of all the things. Yeah. So after this thing, now again I'm asking any questions till what we have done, because we are left with 15 minutes and I will talk about the HTTP in a very brief way, so that that theory part I complete and I give you the HTTP code. You can search the HTTP code. The JSON thing, anyways, as I mentioned, there is already a video. So I will send you the GitHub link. So you need to write that essay. That's very, very important. And you need to think deeply. You need to think about the problem. Things won't come so easy. You need to think deeply about the problem. That's when you will go deeper and deeper and you will do all these kind of exercises. In your companies and all those things, you got everything done for you. That's why you don't feel the heat. It's already done for you. You don't know what is behind it. So you don't do it for your lifelong. So you stay where you are with small jumps. But you know what goes inside it and become an expert, you reach a different level altogether. How many of you understand the impact of the statement that I am making? Type yes in the chat box. It's you have to be the cheerleader of your career and you need to very, very strongly hold it. So let me now show you the let me now share the screen and talk a bit about HTTP.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The underlying workhorse is the TCP protocol, transmission control protocol. You can say as UDP also, but mostly HTTP, when you say TCP, it is more closer. UDP also works because whatever the Zoom call that we are having, it's definitely not on TCP. It's on UDP only. Even some certain packets get dropped, it's okay. But in TCP, you cannot afford packets to be dropped. You have acknowledgement and all those things. So typically what happens, a client makes a TCP connection request. 80 is the port number. So for people who have understanding of networking, you have this port number, IP address, and other things. And you see the www.toronto, it's a DNS. It came because of DNS. Ultimately, that website address gets translated to one IP address colon port. So you can think like IP address is like your street name, or you can say IP address is like your house name, and the port is like the door through which you will enter. Typically, a port number defines one application which is interested. Here 80 is the port for HTTP. So when somebody says port 80, it means the application is HTTP. So clients make a request. HTTP server will say yes, it accepts the connection, then it sends the HTTP request back containing URL. Server receives the request and sends response containing text of index.html, the actual data, and clients start receiving it and start displaying it. The cycle continues. Clear? This is how the simple HTTP process happens. There is so much behind it, but understand that now we are doing actually a server part, because the information is there at the sensor, but we are querying it. We are maintaining the whole repository or something. And in this case, I think even the client server stuff may not come into picture. I don't think you have to get those things in your mind. It is simply a controlling aspect done over HTTP. So no client, no server, because it's not that you want something to be obtained from the thermostat, because of which it can become server, need not be Need not be that case. Typically, when your web browser, you open and you say www.google.com, you know that you are the client. There are servers out there and you are requesting. In this case, where you want to request something from the server is fine. But sometimes you also configure. Like a client also can submit a form saying that when you have your email account opening, you fill all the forms and you say submit, then it goes. So the client also can send data which will be submitted at the server side. But in this case, we don't have to get into this client server terminology, but understand that if we assume the thermostat sensor as a server, we will either put something into that or get something from it. So mostly your code will be something like a HTTP client. Why I am saying not to worry about thermostat, smart thermostat as such is because if you remember the earlier diagram that I told, the other side, whatever we are assuming, right? We are sending a HTTP packet, then the other side also has to understand HTTP packet. We are not accounting that in our implementation. How many of you people get what I'm speaking about? Why I am saying you don't have to worry about client server now? How many of you understand that? Type me in the chat box. In a real life, it is not like that. You need client server terminology and it all makes sense. But here we are discounting everything, even this aspect also. We are not considering that the thermostat is a server because we ourselves decided that we are not worried about thermostat at all. We are sending information, the other side we are completely faking, or we can have. It's a choice. So the next thing is HTTP request. So when you send a packet, you will have a HTTP method, space, the URL. URL means when the client is requesting something, it will send the path, complete path. I want // then this image or something. Then space, HTTP version, carriage return, and line feed. The most important thing in a HTTP request or even in a response also, mostly in the request, mostly in the request is these key value pairs separated by colons. For example, you will say data, colon, data hyphen type, colon, HTML, JSON, whatever, plain text. So the most important thing in the HTTP request after the basic requirements as per the protocol like HTTP method, URL, version, and all those things is the header file names, which are the contents of the header, which are the key value pairs. Then after the last key value pair, there are many keys and many values that you can give in your request. After the last key value pair, when you have carriage return and line feed, to make the end user or the other side understand that now the body of the message is coming. Because there is a header and there is a body. How do I differentiate which is header and which is body? Before the body or after the header, there are two carriage return line feeds that are there. That's why you see carriage return line feed and another carriage return line feed. And this is the body. This is exactly the place where I am saying either you can send HTML tags or the JSON format. Clear? Hope you people understood this thing, what you are going to implement. So you need to now get into the code of the HTTP server and you can do a lot of hard coding also. That, oh, for my requirement, I don't want you to consider so many things. It is nothing dynamic. Everything is static. The data is always plain text. For those all changes, you need to get into the HTTP code is what I'm trying to say. Clear? This is the part I'm saying that you need to get into the code. Now, once the request is sent, this is not needed because we are not really getting any response. But for your knowledge, I also gave the response, which is typically the response given by the server to the client. The request is done by the client with these things that I want so and so, so and so, so and so. And this is the response given by the server. Now, in our case, this is not needed. at this point of time. But understand that in the real life, when you get into a proper IoT project with all these Wi-Fi connectivity or this, that, and all those things, you need this.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
Clear so far? So HTTP code, you can choose on your own. Nevertheless, I'm thinking I will provide one link. Ajay already has sent some links on HTTP server and all those things. You can take that. JSON format, if you want to learn something extra and add to your resume, I'm going to send one link and the YouTube recording where I explain the complete code. It will add, you can add it as one of the projects or skills in your resume. Yeah. Any questions before we wind up the session?
I have one. So we will be only like using the existing HTTP framework for this project.
HTTP code you are not going to write because it is a time consuming thing. That's why I'm telling, right? Most of the load is removed from your shoulder, but still you have the activity of plumbing the pieces of code, plumbing the JSON code with the HTTP server and all those things, your user interface, creating those files, bringing those things. See, it's a software outside, but you want to get it into your code. Just because you put something, do you think it will work? No. You need to call it in a way that your data flows through it and comes out, right? So that calls for effort by itself. And the quickness with which you understand how the code is and all those things, you will eliminate a lot of the unnecessary stuff. You will keep what is remaining. You will call that API in your application code. That will go to the HTTP server, and then it will go to the UR driver and it will print it outside. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah.
And that server we will be faking it, thermostat plus server we will be faking it with the like normally utilizing
You can do that.
file objects instead of using the network object.
Yes, yes. Instead of the real hardware, you can fake it. So the intention is in these 30 days, not everything
Okay.
can be covered, but the core can be covered, that you will attach the bells and whistles later and you will get the complete thing. And you will understand that. It's not a big thing. Yeah. So today we are actually supposed to show where people are, but we are postponing one more day intentionally because some people are sometimes regular, sometimes they fall back with respect to posting and all those things. Pick up where you are, what you can do, and do the posting so that tomorrow we will do a tally and Friday we are going to see where you are. Already few people have done and they cross that 1 week mark, 2 week mark. It's there with us. But remaining people where you are lagging, understand this thing also, that your brand matters. Clear? Okay, then what the next session would be. So Ajay, what is this question? Okay, yeah. Yeah, please do come on the camera. We want to take a snap.
If you want to work with me personally, where I guarantee to work with you until you secure a well paid job, book a one on one call with me. Link is in the description.
So, like for next session, what we are going to do in the next session? That was the question.
Yeah, next session, people will show their sequence diagrams, right?
Yeah.
We'll have a sequence diagram review because they will already start with the code, but the sequence diagram should fall in place so that when they look at the code and all those things, it will be proper. Yeah, Viresh, is it possible for you to come on camera? Or still traveling in bus? Yeah, I took screenshot. Okay, then. See you all again on Friday. Be ready with your sequence diagrams. Do your best. You will get information from each one shows their use case diagrams and sequence diagram. Other people will get an idea. If they are not, yeah, 2 seconds Viresh told. So what is your feeling of learning? What's your honest thing that, yeah, we are learning something which is not actually what we do in office? How many of you have that feeling? Okay, raise of hands. So Anirudh raised, Ananda raised, Chaitanya. Aditya, I know Aditya, for him this is new. So Viresh, any delay? Great. Yeah, Ajay.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, one smile. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. See you all on Friday. Bye.